Hi folks, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, presenting you with yet another wrestling review. I'm joined of course by my roommate and co-host Joe. Say hi, Joe. Joe, say hi. He's upset. And why is Joe upset, you might ask? Because of what my review is about to be about. It's Sunday night. And you know what that means. Pay-per-view wrestling. And who's pay-per-view wrestling, you might ask? TNA. That should be enough of a clue to tell you why me and Joe are not in a good mood tonight. Why, you ask? Because of TNA's pay-per-view Against All Odds. This was torture. This pay-per-view goes against the Geneva Convention's Articles of Warfare. It is torture in every sense of the word. Don't believe me? Well, let's go through the show. Alright, our first match was supposed to be Max Buck, Jeremy Buck, and Robbie E in a triple threat match to determine the number one contender for the TNA X Division title. Unfortunately, the Bucks couldn't make it. Apparently they had some travel issues. So by default, Robbie E is the new number one contender for the X Division title. It was so over that he and Cookie decided that we're going to kick off for the night and asked the ref to count the Bucks out and officially raise his hand as the winner of the match. So while he and Cookie go out, reeking of hair product, out comes Kazarian. He cuts a good promo and says that he will have a match tonight for the X Division title against him, the champion. So the match was short and it was decent, which is a bad thing because this is the X Division we're talking about, the bread and butter of TNA wrestling. It's supposed to be amazing, outstanding, astonishing, or for AJ Styles, phenomenal. But it wasn't. It was decent. And when you have to use a word like decent to describe an X Division match, you know something's wrong. But anyway, Kazarian wins using his reversed tombstone pile driver he calls the Blackout, retains the X Division title. Up next is the six-man tag match, and delightfully enough, one of the few bright spots in this whole shitstorm of a pay-per-view is we got a Scott Steiner promo. Now, if you haven't seen Scott Steiner's promos, they are normally unintelligible, unlearnable, and completely rambling messes, and we love them for it. It's just like Ric Flair's promos. They're delightfully overdramatic and just rambling, and he doesn't know half the shit he's saying, but it's awesome. And he was rambling in his promo, and he actually took a little bit of James Storm's beer. And this was further compounded with Robert Roode cutting a good promo. I don't know, they seem to be pushing Roode a little bit here, but anyway, the next match is between Beer Money and Scott Steiner versus the Freak Rob Terry and Gunner and Murphy. Gunner and Murphy? Yeah. Gunner and Murphy, they sound like a canceled CBS detective program. Turn in this Sunday for Gunner and Murphy, private investigators. The match itself was actually quite good. Scott Steiner started out and he did everything that he popped for the crowds for. He had gotten into a little pose off with Rob Terry, but for the most part, he stayed out of the match. This is the only time they booked it wisely. It was all about Beer Money. Beer Money carried this match. Gunner and Murphy shouldn't even been in the ring with a team like Beer Money, and Rob Terry still too green. But anyway, the match ends when Scott Steiner makes me pop for him when he does the Frankensteiner, and does it very well. 1, 2, 3, they win. possibly the only good match on this whole card. And it was only because the crowd was so hyped for Scott Steiner, but he didn't wrestle as much, and Beer Money pretty much showed everyone why the fuck they're the champions. Yeah, so this was probably the only good spot in the whole fucking show. What else? Next up was between the what was the knockouts match? Madison Rayne, the woman of 1,001 gimmicks, versus Mickie James in the last knockout standing match. Now, I already knew this was going to be bad, but this was just abysmal to watch. This kind of match kind of demeans Mickie James, and it really showed. It seemed the Divas could do better than this, and the Divas don't even do matches like this. It was just, it was just painful to watch. And it was painful to watch Madison Rayne load up that stupid glove. I wish they'd get rid of the fucking glove. Anyway, the end comes when Tara, of course, comes in to provide some interference. And then Madison Rayne pulls out some brass knucks, knocks Mickie out. 10 count. Madison Rayne's still the champion. This would be the perfect. This would have been a perfect time to drop the belt to Mickie James. Give the belt to someone who is not has no association with the beautiful people. All of the time, it's been the beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful fucking people. All the time, I want to see somebody different with the belt. It's bad enough Hamada is gone. It's bad enough Zombie Hot is gone. At least she could be gone, as much as they don't show her anymore. It's bad enough that Sarita isn't even in any feuds. She's just feuding with any random person. It's just. Next up, I believe, is a promo between Matt Morgan and the returning Supermax. Now, if you've not been up on your TNA as much, Supermax Hernandez was taken out months and months ago by Matt Morgan. No, not really. No, wait a minute. I'm mistaken. He actually left the company for a little bit to go do some work with AAA. It's a Mexican promotion. So, as if you didn't see Impact last Thursday, Supermax interfered in Morgan and Anderson's title match, and he cost Morgan the title. So Matt comes out and asks him to explain himself. This one made me ashamed to be a Houstonian, because Supermax is from Houston. Supermax cuts one of the most blatantly racist and utterly boring and predictable promos I've ever heard. They're basically giving him the classic gimmick of the pissed off minority. Yeah, I'm Mexican. And I'm not going to get as much respect here than I did in Mexico. Well, if you don't like it here, why the fuck are you here again, Hernandez? And I'm saying this because I love Hernandez. I have nothing but great respect for Hernandez. I loved his tag team work with Homicide as LAX, and I loved his singles work. And I was one of the many people who put him directly in line to be the next TNA World Champion. But then Hogan and Bischoff came in, and you know how that happened. So basically, that's Hernandez's whole gimmick now. He's Mexican, he's pissed off, and he's not going to take it anymore. I pity you, Hernandez. Next up, we have Samoa Joe versus the Pope. Now, if you told me this match months and months ago, I might be more excited for it than I actually am right now. Because sadly, these two men are being so sorely underused and underutilized. I mean, they spent months being buried by Jeff Jarrett, of all people, and Abyss, and now they're fighting each other for what? Because Samoa Joe happened to have a video camera and recording every little thing that the Pope does? Who gives a fuck? They should be fighting for the title. They should be at least fighting Immortal still. But no. Pope went to a strip club. Yeah, that's a big crime. The I would have predicted a great match, but then they brought in Okada, dressed up exactly like Kato from the Green Hornet. Isn't that racist? I mean, why would Samoa Joe need a buddy? Samoa Joe is a loner. He's been kicking ass in TNA for the better part of 5 years, all by himself. Sure, there was that point when he joined the front line, but the front line sucked. And there was that point that he joined the Main Event Mafia, but that really didn't make any sense, sense away. But in this persona as the Samoan submission machine, he doesn't need anybody. Why is that? Okada didn't really do anything except stop Pope from running like a little bitch. Anyway, the match, it was a decent back and forth match, but the two of them, the Pope and Joe, are so above that, it could have been 10 times better than it actually was. Anyway, Joe slaps in a Coquina clutch, and Pope taps faster than Gregory Hines in hell. I mean, he tapped. The move wasn't even fully locked in, and he tapped. Not only was this a botch, but this makes Pope look like such a bitch. He could have street fights and falls count anywhere matches with Suicide when he first came in, but he taps to an incomplete, not fully locked in Coquina clutch. And then afterwards, he tries to shake Joe's hand. Joe wasn't having it, so he attacks Joe. Okada gets in the ring, instantly gets beaten down. Yeah, that's right, Okada. Okada, so weak that he got one punched by a guy who tapped to a half put in Coquina clutch. So anyway, he does the DDE on Joe. Joe blades, starts bleeding, and he goes apeshit. Where was that, Joe? Where was that when we needed it? When we needed it against fucking Jeff Jarrett? This whole pay-per-view is making me sick. Okay, moving on. Next match is between cold-blooded Matt Hardy against RVD. Cold-blooded, more like cold cuts. Yeah, cold cuts, Fat Hardy. Yeah. Yeah, what's his signature moves? The side of fries and the twist of cake? This was a match I was not interested in seeing. Saw it at the pay-per-view last time, a couple of weeks ago. Saw it on Impact. I saw it again here. Nothing changed. They did the same moves except that RVD won. I don't care. Then we get to the match that I didn't see. Not because of my stream was messed up. I had a crystal clear stream. Not because people were interrupting me. No, I didn't watch it on principle. It's Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett. If Kurt Angle wins, he gets custody of his 2 kids that he had with Karen. If Jeff Jarrett wins, Kurt has to walk her down the aisle on March 3rd during Jeff and Karen's renewal of their wedding vows. TNA, what the fuck is your problem? Why would you include kids into this? For those who don't know, Karen Angle Jarrett, who had an affair with Jeff Jarrett while she was still married to Kurt Angle. So they decided that this real drama that resulted in the Angles breaking up, this real drama of a divorce, was so good they had to include it into a storyline. No. And I know there's some people out there like on the chat room of the stream I was watching were saying, well, this is just like the WWE when Eddie Guerrero talked about that there's up between Eddie and Ray about his son Dominic. No, this is different. Let me explain something to you. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were the best of friends. They both agreed to do this. This was kayfabe. This was a storyline. That's just it. Outside of the storyline, the two of them were best friends. There was no drama between them. And Eddie, as far as I understand, loved Dominic just like his own, like he was his own kid. They were pretty much, he pretty much called that, Dominic called Eddie Uncle Eddie. They were that close. This is involving children between these three people, Jeff, Karen, and Kurt. This real life drama is being played out for cheap giggles and money. I have had friends and relatives who go through divorces, and I can tell you this much. I can tell you this much: the children of those divorces do not like to talk about it. They don't like to have it brought up. They just want to get it over with and just deal with the transition as the time comes. These kids have to live with the fact that this drama between their parents, is being played out week after week on national TV for throngs of hungry audiences. For what? Just to make money? Why? Why would you do something like that? The WWE has done some cold shit, but this just crosses the line when you cross into this kind of territory. I did not watch this match. I listened to it, but I did not watch it. It sounded great, but I did not watch it on principle because I was disgusted by this whole angle. I went out of my room. I got a soda. I popped some popcorn. I did my laundry. I looked at porn. I did everything but watch this match. I only watched it at the end when Jeff won. And what happened at the end told me that they realized how far they had gone too far. Because at the end, Karen, Jeff, they should have been happy, but they didn't. They had this look of shock and disgust, and it just didn't look like they were happy. As they were leaving, Kurt did something that nobody expected. He took off his shoes, he took off his ring boots, left them in the ring, and walked out. For those who don't know, that is kind of the international sign of when a wrestler just says, I've had enough, I don't want to do this no more. So this was quite possibly Kurt Angle's last match. Think about it. Kurt Angle, an Olympic gold medalist in the freestyle for freestyle wrestling, a 13-time world champion, one of the greatest in-ring competitors that professional wrestling has ever seen. A man whose in-ring skill is at such a level that even in his advanced years, he can still give 5-star quality matches with pretty much anyone near or less at his skill level. A man who, like he said, he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. This was his last match. This is the match that he has to go out on. This is the match that fans are going to be saying, this was Kurt Angle's last match. A cheap going out to Jeff Jarrett of all people, with his kids involved. I don't know who's responsible for this angle. Bischoff, Hogan, Dixie, Jeff, Kurt, Karen. I don't care who's responsible for it, but you should be fucking ashamed of yourselves for doing it. Disgusting. And bad enough it put me in a bad mood to watch the final match. Jeff Hardy versus Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson ladder match. Now I will admit this was a somewhat good match. I've seen better ladder matches, but they had to work with what they got. Except for the end, there was a major botch. They were both on twin ladders. Anderson tries to go for the mic check, but he falls. I think Jeff was supposed to hang on from the title, but he fell off. And so the end of the match came with Jeff just climbing the ladder, reaching the belt, while Mr. Anderson slowly rolled into the ring. No, better yet, he got into the ring very quickly, but somehow took his time and didn't have enough strength to simply push a ladder over. And Jeff just kind of pulled the belt down. Jeff Hardy is your new heavyweight champion. Not that I care, since that belt is the only thing that is only made for him. Final verdict. Fucking sucked. It's garbage. I knew going in that this wasn't going to be good. The card didn't even look that appealing to me. I even considered skipping TNA against all odds simply because I did not want to watch it. It looked boring to me. But somebody said, no, you have to do a review. You haven't done a review since you got out of the hospital, and people are going to want to see a review. So I did. And I regret that decision. This was terrible. This was horrible. This was torture beyond words. There were a few good points in it, very few. But a speck of light in a shitstorm does not stop a shitstorm. It was shit-eating crap and duking out diarrhea. Ugh. It was diarrhea coming out of my dick, in the words of the angry video game nerd. This was crap, and I hated it. I'm even ashamed that I actually just looked for a stream for this. Say what you want about the WWE. At least they still have some quality matches, and the booking and the storylines make sense. TNA, what happened to you? I could go on and on about how TNA, but frankly, I'm getting severely pissed off, and it is giving me a headache, and I need to calm down. So that's my review for TNA Against All Odds. Don't watch it. Look at the recaps on YouTube, but do not watch it. If you paid for it, demand your money back. If they don't give you your money back, sue them for sexual harassment, because this pay-per-view violated your mind in the worst possible way, and not in a good Randy Orton way. What do you think, Joe? See, even Joe hates it. Joe is so pissed off. Right? He was gonna do a video responding to the fanfiction critic's little friend, if you understand what I mean. But right now he's so pissed he doesn't want to do anything. Well, that's my review. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if I'm still alive, if I haven't killed myself by trying to erase the memory of this fucking pay-per-view. This is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, and Joe saying goodbye and